Thank you, Chair Cruz and Ranking Member Cantwell. And thank you both to Mr. Mader and Mr. Kratsios for being here. I'd like to start with a few questions for Mr. Mader. I appreciated our meeting yesterday, and we discussed protecting consumers is at the heart of the Federal Trade Commission's work. I shared with you in our meeting that I've received an overwhelming outreach from my constituents, from calls and emails. We had a town hall yesterday with over 1,000 folks, and many of them are concerned and some are just afraid that Elon Musk and DOGE are accessing their personal data from their Social Security numbers to tax records. Not only are they concerned about people accessing this, but what they will use it for. As a consumer protection enforcer, what responsibility do you think the FTC has to monitor DOGE with regards to sensitive and private consumer data?
Thank you, Senator. I enjoyed our conversation as well. It's good to be with you again. So as I mentioned at the time, there are laws the FTC enforces, and there are also laws to which the FTC is subject. And in the latter category is included confidentiality protection. So when I was a staff attorney practicing antitrust law, we would collect information from third parties as part of the investigation, and we were required to keep that confidential. And that's very important so that businesses can trust that when they come to the FTC and share information as a witness to help our investigations, that it won't be leaked. Those cover the other side of the FTC as well on consumer protection matters, and so the agency has an obligation to keep all of the confidential information that it collects private and within the agency. I can't speak to what the internal plans or practices are for DOGE, but I can commit that if confirmed this position, I would ensure the FTC is following the laws that it enforces as well as the laws that restrict it.
Thank you. Yesterday, we also discussed our shared concern over pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. As we discussed, PBMs contribute to inflated drug costs for Americans and play an outsized role in the drug supply chain at the expense of consumers. In the House, I was able to co-lead a bipartisan effort to rein in PBMs and want to continue to do that in the Senate. Will you commit to supporting continued work at the FTC to investigate PBMs and take necessary enforcement actions?
Thank you. I was fortunate to begin my career at FTC in the healthcare division, and so this is an area of the economy I care deeply about, and is really one of those kitchen table issues that people pay close attention to. And if confirmed, yes, I'm committed to ensuring we have competitive markets in the healthcare space and using all of the agency's tools in furtherance of that mission.
Thank you. Mr. Kratsios, in your 2019 confirmation hearing, you said workforce development must be at the heart of everything we do at the Office of Science, Technology, Policy. Do you still believe this?
I do, yes.
So I'm laser focused on preparing the workforce for jobs of today and the future. I was Secretary of Labor in Delaware. I started a bipartisan future work caucus in the House. And especially when we look at things like biotech and AI and quantum. As director of OSTP, would you prioritize strategies to increase our emerging tech workforce, and if so, how?
Absolutely. Whenever I think about how you structure a national strategy around emerging tech, it typically falls on 4 pillars. One is R&D, one is on regulations, one is on international, and the 4th pillar is always workforce. And within the federal government, there's lots of levers that you can use to drive those efforts. It can be through grants and fellowships to researchers, and it can also be through lots of other programs to allow for training and reskilling. So I'm a big advocate and would be delighted to work with you on those issues.
Great. Much of the work is outside of government, but I am concerned about the mass firings of scientists and engineers at NIH and NIST. Does that concern you, and do you think that the hollowing out of the federal government for this technical talent risks losing ground to economic competitors like China?
I think it's very important when you enter into a new administration to have the opportunity to assess the team that you have on the field and determine what is the best way to be able to drive the priorities of the American people and the president. And I think it's very natural and common sense and logical to do that evaluation. And what I have observed from the outside is that these considerations of employment are ones that are not specifically targeted to science and technology, but are broad across all the agencies. So I think it's an important and necessary step to take when you start a new administration.
My time has expired, but I will submit some questions for the record, Mr. Chair, and one of which is I wanted to know if you believe there is bias in AI or has been bias in AI. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to both of our nominees here today. I enjoyed meeting with both of you before this hearing, so thank you for coming into my office and having a good discussion.